Coach Burno, head coach men's basketball, is in his third season. He led the Huskies back to the MAC tournament in Cleveland last year for the first time in 3 years. NIU recorded its longest road winning streak since 02-03 last year and had a victory over the eventual MAC champs in Kent State. Coach's squad returns an all-MAC player in David Coit. And here to talk more about it is Coach Burno.
Thank you guys for coming out. A couple of things I want to talk about before we get into the roster. This week is very, very important for men's basketball, women's basketball, with Thursday being Huskie Madness, which starts at 7 o'clock, which is a huge kickoff for us to invite the community to come out and watch our student athletes go out and perform. That's about the present. The future this week is Huskie Invest, which is really, really important for the future of the athletic department. Trying to build a program, you need support. We'll go out and go get the student athletes that can compete at the highest level. In order to give these guys the ability to compete against the best in the league, we really need your support. And so this week obviously is about the present with Huskie Madness, but the Huskie Invest really puts us in a position to be successful long term. So that is greatly, greatly appreciated from myself, from my staff, and obviously from the athletic department. Ventured into the staff. I've brought everyone back, Shane Southwell being the associate head coach, Drew Gladstone, Jacob Kurtz, and Drew Kelly makes up my staff. We also added some height to the staff with Jordan Enriquez, former K-State player, has a ton of experience in the NBA realm. So we wanted to go out and really try to make our staff stronger from top to bottom, and I thought we did a phenomenal job with his addition. As we look into the season, I wanted to, like I did the last 2 years, be very, very competitive in the non-conference. And so we went out and we challenged ourselves. Our goal every year is to make sure we're measuring ourselves with the very, very best to align ourselves in conference. All right, obviously the last couple of years is a one-bid league, and so we really want to give ourselves a great opportunity to cut down nets at the end of the season. And so we open up against Marquette. Obviously Marquette is one of the best teams in the country. Coach Smart is someone that I have a tremendous amount of respect for. We've played him my first year here, and so we open up with those guys, and then we have Northwestern, DePaul, and Iowa, all obviously Power 5 conference teams, all teams who give us a unique challenge. And I like what we are doing thus far, but for the non-conference, those road games are going to really, really pay dividends once we get into league play. Playing at home, all right, obviously anytime you get an opportunity to play in front of your fans and family and friends, we wanted to really bring in some really good talent. And then we did so with Northern Iowa, who obviously has a tradition. They've coached Jacobs. It's been there for the last 15 years. They've won a lot of games. They're one of the perennial best teams in the mid-major market. We also have Indiana State, which is a return game. They are really good. I think they're picked to win their league. And then we also have Appalachian State 2 years ago who went to the NCAA tournament. So those 3 home games are vital, right, going into December, obviously getting closer to January. We also aligned ourselves with a really good MTE down in Atlanta. We play Georgia State and then Little Rock, Arkansas, which is a really good mid-major program. So from a schedule standpoint, I think we did a really good job of trying to give Power 5s, mid-majors, and also obviously playing at home. In order to really get the fan base excited, we wanted to bring names back to the Convocation Center. And I thought with those 3 schools, that's going to really get people to want to come see us and compete versus some really good talent. Now we can get into the roster. We returned 4 starters. Keyshawn Williams, we lost really early in the conference. ACL tear, I want to say second game. He's back. We still obviously have to get full clearance, but he's back to being really athletic. Obviously he's where we need him to be. The good thing about what we did in the recruiting field, we wanted to give him time to mentally and physically be the best version of himself. And so that's what we did. We went out and got some really good players. Diggy Coit, obviously is all-league guard. I think he's second team. He's had a phenomenal summer, and he had a phenomenal fall. We're expecting big things from him, not just a point total, but also leadership. You know, that's something that we talked about throughout the summer is how can you affect change on the other four guys. And he's taken that to heart. He understands he can score the ball, but he's got to be able to be a servant to the other guys and set the table for these other guys can have success. Obviously, Harvin, who's had a phenomenal summer. Harvin was the leader in field goal percentage from 2 in conference, and he was 3rd overall in the country. We expect big things from him. And the guy who I thought took leaps and bounds is Zyreek Nutter. From a maturity standpoint, from an understanding of what goes into winning on a constant basis, he's exceeded expectations. His body, he's taken a real liking to the weight room with Rhonda, my strength coach. And he's really taken a liking to Mary Ellen, our new trainer, to really take care of his body. And that comes with maturity and understanding what the expectations are for him. Then we also have 2 guys who didn't really play last year. Zion Williams is back. He missed, I want to say, right around December with a thumb injury. And then Xavier Amos, who pretty much missed the whole entire year. Those guys will give us size and athleticism that we didn't have last year. So I'm super excited from that standpoint of the returning players. And then we went out and we got some really high character, high level guys that can compete at the highest level from the transfer market. We brought in a kid from DePaul, Nebraska, and Oregon, all guys that can vie for playing time, all guys that can help us add depth, because obviously depth in college basketball is vital, especially with unforeseen injuries and et cetera, et cetera. So with that being said, all of our guys will be lining up, hopefully with Keyshawn probably maybe a game or 2 away from competing. But the start of the season, I expect 12 guys all competing at the highest level. I know I said a lot in a short amount of time. I'll open up for any questions. I just think experience. Phil is a 5th-year transfer. He's played in the Big East, shot 37% from 3 at DePaul. So I think he's going to bring experience. Ethan playing in the Pac-12, playing for a high-level program like Oregon. He knows what goes into winning. Dana Altman is one of the best coaches in college basketball, underrated coach. They've won a lot of games coming from the Pac-12. I know their program. So I wanted to get guys who understood what it takes to be a winner on and off the court. And Ethan Butler exudes that. Like, he's an unbelievable student, and he competes at a high level. So from day one, we wanted to, yet again, have 2 at every position, but also bring guys in that have an unbelievable unbelievable thirst to try to get better, and Ethan exudes that.
Health-wise, you mentioned all the injuries you had last year, and I know that was obviously big. Just is there anything you guys been able to do in the offseason, kind of be proactive to try to prevent that, or is there anything?
Well, I think Coach Carson had that same question, and I think injuries are part of the game, right? And this is where I take my hat off to my administration. We are now feeding our guys better. We're giving them, obviously, knowledge, which is a big component to recovery, to understanding sleep, understanding recovery. Like, all that stuff matters, right? Because injuries, right? I tell my guys all the time, from June 26th is when we got together, no one will feel the same from that moment on, right? Because when you compete and you're playing at a high level, there's a lot of confrontation, a lot of physicality that goes into it. So making sure that we understand the importance of water, hydration, recovery, sleep, and then having a really, really good trainer and strength coach is important. Those 2 people are just as important as my assistant coaches, because they got to keep these guys healthy and out of the training room, and then on the court. And so just understanding education, and then obviously we've been really, really fortunate, yet again, with the support technology, right? We monitor our guys' heart rates. We monitor duration of practices, the physicality of it. And so now that gives me a scientific approach to practice planning versus when it's just the eye test. Because when you do the eye test, and Sean used my good eye, you tend to not, hey, he's not working hard enough. Yeah, that doesn't work anymore just because of the level of competition. I expect those guys to play. one thing I don't like to do is put too much expectations on freshmen, right? They have enough with just trying to make themselves, get themselves acclimated to the rigors of being a student athlete for the first time. But I love who they are. Will Levin Watts is a guy that can vie for minutes. Nazir Muhammad is a guy that can play at a high level. But I like to temper expectation because it's a process for these guys. But they all have the talent and the ability to play right away. Good question, but I'm not answering it. But we have guys that can compete. The one guy who I didn't mention, Yannick Niederhauser, is a tremendous talent. He was hurt last year, yet again a freshman coming from overseas, didn't really understand what it took to play at this level. But the light bulb has gone off, and he had an unbelievable summer with his national team. He's a guy that pushes and gets better every day, but there's 13 starters as of right now. Going once, going twice. Well, I appreciate your time. Remember, important week for us. Huskie Madness, Huskie Invest. Thank you, guys.